Hi guys, and welcome to our next tutorial where we're going to be talking about how to draw lips, eyebrows, and ears. But in this particular case, we're going to start with the mouth and then work our way on those last two things. So in this tutorial, I'm going to be using a small dry erase board to kind of show you the same model that we did in our last tutorials. And what we're going to work with is the mouth. And so a couple of things to understand when you're drawing a mouth is the mouth closed? Is it partially open? Or is the person like yelling, like kind of thing? So when you have your model for your front, side, and 2/3 view, you want to usually do like a small little horizontal marker just below where we had our nose and our eyes to show ideally where your mouth is going to be. So I showed it both on the front, the side, and then on the 2/3, I have it a little down here. But we're going to work with the front one first, then do side, then do the 2/3. So like I said earlier, you kind of want to decide, is the mouth closed, partially open, or like screaming? So in these examples, I'm going to show actually all three of them so they kind of work together. So when I do this, I start out with having the line, which is the crease of my mouth. I then make another mark above and below to represent the top and bottom of the lip. Now in these next two I'm going to draw below, I'm going to be showing if the mouth is partially open or fully open. So same idea is that you show the top of the lip, the bottom of the top lip, then you keep a decent space between it so you can show that there's going to be something open between here. And then your last line is going to be the bottom lip on this part, okay? And before I draw the third one, I'm going to start out with the one with the creased mouth, meaning that it's closed. I make a habit of doing like these little triangular points on the end right here, because when our mouth is at rest like this, those little spaces have like a little dimple. So generally what I do, instead of just leaving a perfect, horizontal line, I will purposely show these little triangles right here and here. And that is to show like the dimples whenever your mouth is closed. So when you want to draw a closed mouth, you can use the marker that is your bottom lip. And if you want to just kind of curve it up just a little bit, you can. And that way, at least now you have the bottom. Now, if you wanted to leave this top marker as is, just to kind of show like the top of the lip, that's perfectly fine. But if you want to kind of extend it a little bit on one part, that's fine too. I usually have a habit of just going a little bit on both sides. It's a little off-centered, but I'm gonna fix that actually. Kind of bothers me a little bit. There, a little bit more on one side than anything else. So this is being a mouth closed. Now I'm going to show if it's partially open. So it looks a little odd just because we have two lines with a big gap in the middle. How is this supposed to be a mouth partially opened? Let me show you. So if these two lines are representing the top of your lip and these two lines are representing the bottom, then all you have to do to show that a mouth is partially open is connect the two middle lines like such. You can curve the bottom lip a little and kind of curve a little bit of that top lip. So now we want to show what's going on more inside. So let's say in this case, this person's starting to talk. What I'm going to do is inside the mouth, make a horizontal line, and that's to represent the top of my teeth. And then underneath, I'm going to make a little hump, and that's to represent my tongue. And then all I have to do with that remainder space is that. And now we have a partially open mouth. Now, what if I want to show somebody who's screaming or yelling, whether they're excited or not? Same concept, just a little bit bigger. So again, you want to have your two markers to show top lip, and then your two markers to show bottom lip. But the difference in this is that you're going to have a bigger gap between these points. So similar to our partially open mouth, what we're going to actually do is that if you take a moment and you kind of pretend that you're yelling or screaming, just take a second and like do it in front of a mirror that you can see, and you can be like this. And what you're looking for is where those angles are on your mouth, like here and here. So depending on how you're yelling or having the mouth open, like if I have it like this, It looks like, you know, slightly rounded, if anything. If I want to show a little bit more expression, I might be like, and I'll have it like to where it shows my teeth. So in this case, I'm just going to show like if the mouth has like a partial teeth, partial lip, like in the middle of yelling or something. So just like the last one, what we're going to do is come down, connect, come down, connect. And as you can see, the spacing is much bigger than the first one. So what we're going to do is the same as before. We're going to curve that lip up just a little bit, curve the lip up here a little bit. And the only reason I'm not putting a lot of definition on the lips is because a lot of the focus is going to be what's happening inside the mouth. So it's okay if you don't do like a bunch of details on the lips when you're doing something like this. So I'm going to put a partial, you know, teeth, little tongue right here. And just like the second one, I'm going to fill all this gap in. The reason I'm showing it this way is so let's say you're using colored pencils or something. You could do like the inside of the mouth with different colors, like a maroon or a brown, to show more details that's happening on the inside of the mouth. But black and white version, it's pretty much like this. So perfectly content, starting to talk, probably yelling. So you can pick whichever one you want to put on your model, and that is perfectly fine. I think for this case, I'm just going to keep it simple and just do calm, quiet little mouth. I'm going to get rid of a little of my guidelines. Just makes it a little easier for you to see what's happening on here. There we go. Calm mouth. Now, how does this help when you're doing a side view? Typically what I've noticed is that when people are drawing cartoons or anime and they do that side view mouth, they always seem to do like this weird line, and then they show like a little weird side triangle to show the mouth talking. But if you're doing like realistic drawings, that's not how it looks. So to help us out on our model, as I have it already placed, we already have the line where our eyes were, the marking where our nose was in our last tutorial, and then now the marking of where our mouth is. Again, you can choose either one of these. Like I'm going to show a mouth closed, I'm going to show a mouth partially open. Probably not going to show the screamy one just for the sake of it, but it'll make more sense when I do this. So when I am doing the side view, I want to start out really understanding like where my profile is, meaning I'm going to first show like where the bottom of my nose is and then work my way down. So on this, what we're going to do, let's see, we're going to mark bottom of our nose first, just so we know where the bottom of the nose is. We're going to come down and at least make a marker of where the crease of our mouth is, okay? So if you're confused about what these two lines are, it's just an up close version of our tiny model right here, okay? So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to draw out the nose from the last nose tutorial that I did. So here's our nose, and then I'm going to work my way down. So before I actually start drawing the mouth, I do want to point out, like when you're at a side view like this, you have the tip of your nose, it curves in, and then right before your lips get to this point, you have to follow this, and you have like this little dip right here. So what I'm going to draw first is coming from my nose. I'm going to make a little dip like this, and then I'm going to come inward to show the top of my lip. So that's the top lip. Now I have this line because the idea is that in this example, the mouth is closed. Now I have to show the bottom lip. So what I'm going to do is kind of curve out just a little bit like this. And I'm not quite done. So just like how we had a curve up here on our, like right below our nose and above the lip, we have the same kind of thing right before our bottom lip and chin right here. So what I'm going to do is continue this down, make a little curve, which is right here. And then I'm going to come out a little bit to show where the chin juts out. So this seems like a lot, and I know I made it look easy, but when you're doing it on a smaller model like this, it feels as though you kind of like scrunch everything up in this like small space. You need to be keeping in mind how much space you need to do all of this information, okay? So now I'm going to show you what it looks like when a mouth is open, like whether they're talking, yelling, whichever. Same kind of steps, just slightly different, okay? So what I'm going to do is make a little mark real quick where the nose is. And then when I do the markings of where the mouth is, I'm going to take the same things that I showed you up here on this, okay? So we have the marking of where the bottom of our nose is. And then generally speaking, I want to kind of know where the crease of my mouth is, but what I'm going to do is kind of divide up the space. So these two lines, I know you're probably thinking, oh, it's the top, it's the bottom. Kind of. It's when the mouth is open that I'm doing those two lines. So I'll erase this crease in just a sec. So I'm going to mark where my top lip is and my bottom lip. So now all I'm going to do is get rid of this now. So again, I am showing where the top lips are, which is the two lines up here on this point. And then I have the gap between where the mouth is open. And then I have the two lines to represent the bottom of the lip. So before I have us get started, I'm going to draw a nose again, and then we'll work our way down. So, let's see that. There. Slightly different nose, still works. So again, before we get started, we need to know where the bottom of our nose is, and we need to make that curve right here. So I'm going to find that point, curve out just a little bit. And in between these two spaces, I'm going to come down like I did on the first tutorial, so you can see where the top lip is. And then before I actually get down to my bottom lip, I need to think about that gap of where I need to show this part, because this is going to sound a little weird. When you have your mouth open, you have this curve right here. But you're not just going to see this curve, you're also going to see the curve on the other side of my mouth if I was at a side view doing such. Okay, yeah. So you need to show that line before you show this line. And so what I'm talking about is right where this lip ends, my top lip, I'm going to come back just a little bit, not right where this point is, but I'm going to come back right about here. I'm going to make a curved kind of like C shape. And that's to represent this side of my mouth when I'm at a side view opening my mouth, okay? So now I have to show this curve when it's open. I'm going to come back, I'm going to make another C shape. I'm going to connect this point to this point. Now I can now finish out my bottom lip and make the curve and the chin. Okay, that chin's like really jutted out. We're going to kind of help the chin out just a little bit. There we go. Now I'm not quite done if I don't want to be. Maybe I want to go back and show like the person's talking, so I'm going to show a little hump where the like tongue is. If I want to show like a little bit of the teeth, I can, but in this example, I'm not going to. I'm just going to fill in that space like so. So person not talking, person starting to talk. Side view. Now again, on your model, you can pick whichever one that you want to do. I think in this case, I'm going to just keep the mouth simple and closed. And then I can show you what the 2/3 view is, which honestly, now that we've already done like the eyes and the nose tutorial, this is like a lot easier than you think when you get to this point. So I'm just going to draw this out. That. Get rid of my guidelines. Side view on our model. Kind of has like a double chin going on. I think I'm just going to help him out and get rid of that. There, let's double chin. All right, so we did our front view, we did our side view, and now we have to do our 2/3. Can't talk. Now, unlike the eye tutorial and the nose tutorial, this is actually not as hard as it sounds. All you're really doing is taking what you just learned on here and applying it to this, but just on a slightly curved line. And the reason I'm saying is that when I showed these things, it's if you were on a very straight horizontal line, this one you're slightly curving up. So what that means is that when we're drawing a mouth, I'm going to kind of do my mouth here, my little nose, and then the vertical line coming down. So there again is a blown up version of this right here. So we have our little nose. Let me get that out of the way real quick. There's our side, or 2/3 side. Here we go. And again, if you want to show the mouth open or closed, same concept, just slightly curved. I think in this tutorial, I'm purposely going to do a closed one, but with more curved lips, so you can kind of understand what's happening. So on a 2/3 view, what's happening is that you still have like the marker for the top and the bottom of the lip. And yeah, I'll still kind of do my little triangles to show that the mouth is closed. However, this is where it's a little different than a side view and a front view, is that on this top lip, I'm going to see more of this side of my mouth and a little less information on here. So it's like almost like this side of my mouth gets shortened just a little bit. So even though I have this upper lip, it almost kind of looks like it got stumped right there. So longer on this side, slightly stumped on that side. Same on the bottom. And maybe curves up a little bit more. That's it. That's really the only difference on the 2/3, is that you're basically taking what's up here and just kind of squishing one side. That's really it. Same if the mouth was open or closed. I mean, it's totally up to you. Maybe for this sake, I'm just going to have it slightly parted. There we go. So I'm going to just kind of draw it on here real quick. There. Partially, slightly weird looking lips. So that is our mouth tutorial. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video now and then restart once I erase all the mouth information, and then we'll move on to the eyebrows next. Okay, just a sec.